Hey all, we are continuing on with our clumping bamboo series in the desert. Today I'm covering the Seabreeze Bamboo, Bambusa malingensis. This is another tropical clumping bamboo. Can tolerate temps down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm located near Phoenix, Arizona, so I am in 9B. So this bamboo has no problem in our climate. This clump in front is just about 4 years old now. It was planted about 4 years ago in ground. I have another example right here planted around the same time. So these are very close to being mature. I do have a third clump in the yard in another area, and that was just planted less than 2 years ago. Stepping back, you can see that this clump is quite tall. This variety can grow anywhere between 25 and 30 feet in its ideal climate, and mine is about 25 feet tall. So it's achieving nearly its full size here. Coming in close to the culms here, you can see that they are not super large. These average around 1.5 inches. In my area, they can get up to 2 inches in their ideal climate. So you can see for the most part the culms are quite straight, and the format of these canes is dense. There are a lot of shoots. This is a very prolific grower, puts on many shoots in one growing season. So again, stepping back and panning up, we can see that the top is very much arching. Even though it's straight and tight at the bottom, it almost has a cone shape as you come up, which makes it such an excellent variety for a screening application. So another thing to mention with this variety is how adaptable it is. It's one that does really great both in coastal climates like Florida and also desert climates like Arizona. So coming up on the leaves, you can see that they aren't all that large. They're actually pretty small and short. And the culms on this variety are very thick. And you'll find that when you're doing your annual maintenance on these, you have to have very sharp tools to cut through these, as they have thicker walls than some other bamboo. And the fact that they have such a thick wall on that culm is why they do so well in storms. So I've actually heard of many homeowners in Florida planting this bamboo, this specific variety, around the perimeter of their property, and they do that as a windbreak for hurricanes. So it definitely has a strong reputation for handling winds. But I was surprised when my plant completely defoliated by 60-mile-per-hour winds this past winter. You can see it's really quite bare. If you've seen my other videos of this plant, you know that it's generally very dense with leaves, and currently it doesn't have many leaves on it. The leaves turn from a nice green color to yellow by the end of the winter. We did not have a very cold winter in that we didn't get down to 20s, but we did have a very long winter where we had a lot of nights in the 30s. And we did have some rain as well as the cold. So there was some more frost situation for this plant. The other reason why this is somewhat bare right now is because we've had a very mild spring. It's only now that we're starting to head into the 110s here. It's going to be 110 today and going upwards from that later this week. So we are now officially summer, and the plant will start putting on some new growth. Coming down to the base of the plant, I do see shoots starting, so it's finally warm enough that this will start putting on new canes or culms. And we'll also put on some new leaves. You can see even here we're starting to get some new branches coming in. So this will fill in with foliage now that the temperatures are warm. So the reason why I specifically planted this variety in this location is because I do have quite a few subtropicals and tropicals in this section. And I wanted a plant that would provide a suitable microclimate for these to grow in. Specifically, I wanted to provide these mangoes and other tropicals some relief from the sun, from direct sun, so this does provide that shade aspect. In the winter, it does provide frost protection, because you can see due to its arching habit here, it forms a cover over the plants down below. So it'll take that frost for them. It's also a great windbreak. Another thing to note about this plant is it's extremely fast growing. I didn't know that it would be when I planted it, but it definitely outpaces all my other bamboos in the amount of growth that it put on. Just in a couple years, it formed a very nice screen for me. A good height. It was already at about 15 feet tall in 2 years. Can't always expect that, but this one definitely outpaced all the other varieties. So between that and just its format, the fact that it's so tight and dense on its footprint and yet has that really nice arching canopy on top, makes this probably the best bamboo out there to use as a privacy screen. So you could easily plant this, 5 or 6 feet on center and have a very tight, nice tall hedge going around the perimeter of your yard. So really great to block out 2-story homes or any unsightly thing that you just want to block and have a green wall. This would be great for that. Another thing I want to call out is this metal barrier that you might see peeking up above the mulch. So bamboo in general has a very shallow, fibrous root system. It's not going to be invasive in that the culms themselves are not going to go running all over your yard. They're going to stay to that footprint, that clump. It'll just gradually enlarge. But one thing to watch out for is the rhizomes will wander, out from that central clump, and they'll go look for water and food. So I would strongly advise, if you have sensitive plants or small plants nearby, that you go ahead and put some kind of root barrier in like I have. This material here is galvanized aluminum, and it's 12 inches high, but 10 inches have actually been dug into the ground. So this barrier is just sunk in so that it prevents those roots from encroaching and stealing that water and food from other plants. When I planted this 4 years ago, it was mostly in clay soil. I did amend slightly with some cactus soil, but I heavily amended on top of the soil with several inches of deodorized manure. And I did that every year for the first 3 years. Currently, this plant, like my other bamboo, get watered every day. In summer, between 3 and 4 gallons. You can see that emitter right there is what I use. This is a mini bubbler, puts out a spray essentially that covers the entire diameter of this area, which is about 4 feet by 4 feet. Fertilize this just with chicken manure several times a year. In the past, I have also applied a high nitrogen, slow release granular NutriCoat on 1868. I did not do that this year. I'm going to see how this does, but I did use that in prior years. So I hope you enjoyed this highlight video on the Seabreeze Bamboo. If you do have questions, please let me know in the comments section. Thanks for watching, and happy growing.